Was this the ultimate act of psychological warfare or a cold-blooded career assassination? The industry is currently paralyzed as the apple pie sanctuary of Teyana Taylor is burned to the ground by the man who claims he built the foundation. Kanye West has allegedly reached into the dark corners of the GOOD music vaults to leak a devastatingly private tape involving Teyana and her ex-husband Iman Shumpert, turning a historic rise into a public massacre. But as the footage circulates through the digital underground, the real explosion is happening behind closed doors, where Pierre is reportedly reaching his breaking point. Sources suggest the prestige actor is in a state of unbridled rage, feeling like a pawn in a toxic game of chess he never agreed to play. This isn't just a breach of privacy, it's a strategic shift in power designed to remind the world that the past is never truly buried. As the trust between Hollywood's newest power couple hangs by a fraying thread, one question remains. Can love survive the exposure of a life lived in the shadows of a genius? The fallout is no longer coming, it has arrived. The first crack in the illusion. The public narrative surrounding Teyana Taylor in early 2026 was one of pristine, hard-earned redemption. After years of navigating the turbulent waters of a high-profile divorce and the suffocating mechanics of the music industry, she had finally emerged as a cinematic powerhouse. Her portrayal in One Battle After Another didn't just earn her a Golden Globe, it positioned her as the frontrunner for an Academy Award, and a feat that felt like the ultimate vindication for a woman who had often been sidelined as a muse rather than a master. By her side was Pierre, the classically trained British actor whose ascent was equally meteoric. Together they curated an image of quiet luxury, a sophisticated, low-profile romance that stood in stark contrast to the loud, chaotic energy of Teyana's previous life. She called him her apple pie, a soft, sweet sanctuary away from the harsh glare of the paparazzi. To the public, it was the perfect pivot. Teyana was no longer the girl in the Fade video. She was a serious actress, a director, and a woman who had finally found a safe space with a man who valued her intellect over her aesthetic. The illusion was flawless, meticulously crafted to ensure that her past remained a footnote in a spectacular new chapter. The vault cracks open. However, according to insiders, the foundation of this new reality was far more fragile than the public realized. The piece was shattered at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday when a series of encrypted files began to circulate within the inner circles of the Hollywood elite. These weren't just low-resolution leaks, they were high-definition, unedited recordings pulled directly from the GOOD music archives. Reports indicate that Kanye West, the man who signed Teyana in 2012 and presided over her most iconic moments, allegedly authorized the release of what is being called the Shumpert Sessions. This footage reportedly captures Teyana and her ex-husband Iman Shumpert in moments of extreme vulnerability, intimacy that was never intended for a public audience. Allegedly, these tapes weren't just about physical connection. They contained private conversations, raw emotional breakdowns, and spiritual rituals that painted a picture of a life lived on the edge. As the links began to spread like a digital virus, the meticulously polished brand of Teyana Taylor began to oxidize in real time. The industry was paralyzed. How could a woman on the verge of an Oscar win survive a leak of this magnitude? More importantly, how would a man as guarded as Pierre react to seeing the woman he called his safe space exposed in the most visceral way imaginable? The professional assassination sources suggest that this wasn't an accidental breach of security, but a strategic move of professional assassination. Kanye West has a long documented history of viewing his former artists as extensions of his own creative legacy. When Teyana left GOOD Music, she didn't just leave a label, she attempted to sever the cord of a master-muse dynamic that Kanye allegedly believed was permanent. By leaking these tapes during her Oscar campaign, insiders believe Kanye was sending a chilling message. I made you, and I can unmake you. This move wasn't just designed to embarrass Teyana, it was designed to rebrand her back into the chaos she had fought so hard to escape. Allegedly, the timing was calculated to trigger the morality clauses in her current contracts. If major fashion houses and studios began holding emergency meetings, as the hashtag Shumpert sessions began to trend alongside hashtag Teyana Oscar. The narrative was shifting. The public was no longer talking about her performance as an actress. They were dissecting her past as a wife and a protégée. The Harlem Queen was being dragged back into the mud, and the British prince was beginning to realize that the woman he loved came with a history that could drown them both. The silent rage of Pierre. The reaction inside Teyana's camp was one of total, unadulterated panic. But while Teyana was reportedly in an undisclosed location, her phone disconnected, and her inner circle in code red status, the real drama was unfolding in London. Pierre was allegedly on the set of his latest blockbuster when the news hit. And according to reports from set insiders, the atmosphere turned toxic within minutes. Aaron, a man who has built his entire career on the pillars of discipline and privacy, reportedly felt blindsided and commercially compromised. He didn't just feel betrayed as a partner, he felt sabotaged as a professional. Allegedly, his management team had spent months ensuring that his association with Teyana didn't urbanize his prestige brand. Now he was being linked to a GOOD music scandal that was trending for all the wrong reasons. Sources indicate that Aaron's rage wasn't a loud, screaming fit, but a cold, terrifying silence. He reportedly refused to take Teyana's calls, opting instead to speak through intermediaries. The safe space had officially become a legal battlefield, on build of suspicion. As the first 24 hours of the leak passed, suspicion began to mount within Teyana's camp. Why would Iman Shumpert's footage be in Kanye's possession? Reports indicate that during the GOOD music era, Kanye allegedly insisted on filming everything for a documentary that never materialized. This meant that the most private moments of Teyana's marriage were stored on servers she didn't control. Now that lack of control was returning to haunt her. But there was a darker theory circulating among insiders. Some suggest that the leak wasn't just a Kanye move, but a coordinated effort involving individuals who wanted to ensure Teyana didn't reach the pinnacle of the Academy Awards. Suspicion began to fall on a third party, who allegedly brokered the deal between the vault and the dark web. Teyana was reportedly spiraling, questioning everyone in her village. Was there a traitor in her house, or was she simply the victim of an industry that refuses to let a black woman be both vulnerable and successful? The fracturing of the apple pie. By the end of the week, the distance between Teyana and Aaron had grown into a chasm. While the public was begging for a statement of support from the actor, his social media remained a ghost town of professional updates. Allegedly, Pierre was being advised by his legal team to distance himself until the morality fallout was assessed. Teyana, who has always operated on a ride-or-die frequency, found herself riding alone. The suspicion that Aaron was more concerned with his Disney-friendly image than her emotional well-being began to take root. Was he the man she thought he was, or was he just another actor playing a role in her life? Insiders say Teyana's meltdown wasn't just about the tape. It was about the realization that her safe space was actually a conditional space. As the Shumpert sessions continued to trend, the apple pie wasn't just cracking, it was beginning to rot from the inside out. A ticking time bomb. The tension has reached a breaking point. Teyana Taylor is currently a woman without a voice, her reputation hanging by a thread while the world watches her most private moments on a loop. Kanye West has successfully disrupted the narrative of the decade, and Pierre is reportedly one more leak away from walking away forever. But there is a rumor surfacing that Teyana has her own vault, a collection of receipts from her time at GOOD, a music that could burn every bridge in Hollywood. As the Oscar ballots are being prepared, the industry is waiting to see who will break first. Teyana is cornered, and as anyone from Harlem knows, a cornered woman is the most dangerous person in the room. The silence is loud, the rage is real, and the next 24 hours will determine if Teyana Taylor survives the fallout or becomes the most spectacular casualty in the history of the industry. The volcanic confrontation. The escalation from digital rumor to physical confrontation occurred in the early hours of Thursday morning in a high-security penthouse that was supposed to be a sanctuary. According to insiders, Teyana Taylor had flown to an undisclosed location to meet Pierre, desperate to bridge the widening chasm between them. However, what was intended to be a moment of reconciliation reportedly devolved into a volcanic eruption of psychological warfare. Reports indicate that arrived not with comfort, but with a list of clarifications demanded by his legal and branding teams. Sources suggest that the prestige actor was no longer speaking as a partner, but as a corporate entity protecting a billion-dollar investment. He allegedly demanded to know exactly how many more vessels of chaos were sitting in Kanye West's vault. The tension snapped when Teyana reportedly realized that wasn't grieving the violation of her privacy. He was grieving the potential stain on his Mufasa and Green Lantern press tours. The apple pie sanctuary had officially transformed into a courtroom, and the verdict was looking bleak. And the revelation of the hidden blueprint. During this high-stakes confrontation, a devastating discovery was allegedly made that shifted the entire power dynamic. Sources suggest that while attempting to show a string of supportive messages from industry peers, Teyana accidentally stumbled upon a series of recent emails on Aaron's secondary device. These weren't just professional correspondences, they were allegedly communications with a crisis management firm specializing in separation narratives. According to insiders, the emails contained a blueprint for a clean break strategy drafted just hours after the Kanye West leak began to trend. The plan reportedly detailed how Aaron could exit the relationship while maintaining a sympathetic bystander image. And effectively casting Teyana as the volatile factor he had to escape for his own sanity. Allegedly, the blueprint suggested a slow fade from social media, followed by a leaked source-based story about their differing core values. Teyana, a woman who has built her entire life on the foundation of ride-or-die loyalty, was reportedly shattered. She wasn't just fighting Kanye and Iman Shumpert, she was fighting the man who was currently holding her hand. The psychological meltdown. The discovery of the clean break blueprint reportedly triggered what witnesses describe as a total emotional and psychological meltdown. Teyana Taylor, pushed to the absolute limit by the triple betrayal of a mentor, an ex-husband, and a current lover, allegedly reached a breaking point that was both tragic and terrifying. And sources indicate that Teyana began to confront Aaron with the raw, unfiltered Harlem energy his team had spent months trying to suppress. She reportedly accused him of being a vampire who fed on her culture and her cool factor to establish himself in the States, only to discard her the moment the GOOD music Ghosts came knocking. According to reports, the shouting match could be heard through the soundproofed walls of the penthouse. Teyana allegedly threw her golden globe across the room, screaming that she would rather burn it all down than be a pawn in his prestige game. Aaron, reportedly terrified of a public scene that would attract the paparazzi, allegedly attempted to restrain her emotionally, but the damage was done. That the woman who had survived the industry's most toxic environments had finally found the one betrayal she couldn't rationalize: the strategic maneuver of Kanye West. While the couple was imploding in private, Kanye West allegedly doubled down on his campaign of chaos. Reports indicate that Kanye posted and quickly deleted a cryptic image of a morality clause contract with a single word as the caption, "Unsubscribe." This move was interpreted by industry insiders as a direct shot at Pierre's fear of corporate fallout. Kanye was allegedly mocking the actor's desperation for a clean image, suggesting that by dating Teyana, had already signed away his right to quiet luxury. Sources suggest that Kanye's goal was to force to leave Teyana, knowing that the public abandonment would be the final blow to her mental health and her Oscar campaign. Allegedly, Kanye has told associates that he wants Teyana to come back to the fold, believing that by destroying her new life, she will have no choice but to return to the man who created her. It was a masterclass in narcissistic control, executed with the precision of a psychological thriller, the betrayal of the inner circle. As the drama intensified, suspicion began to turn toward Teyana's own village. How did the Shumpert sessions move from a secure vault to the dark web so quickly? Insiders suggest that a leaked audit of the GOOD, music servers, revealed that the login credentials used to access the files were allegedly linked to a former associate of Teyana Taylor, someone who had recently been seen in the company of Iman Shumpert's legal team. This sparked a terrifying theory. The leak wasn't just Kanye's revenge, it was a collaborative strike. Reports indicate that Teyana began to realize she was being surrounded by sleepers who were waiting for the perfect moment to sabotage her ascent. The realization that she couldn't trust the people in her own home reportedly sent her into a state of hyper-paranoia. She allegedly began to record her own conversations, fearing that every word she said would be sold to the highest bidder or used against her in a future custody battle with Iman. The power shift from victim to vigilante. By the end of this explosive period, the Teyana Taylor who walked into that penthouse was gone. In her place was a woman who had moved past heartbreak and into a state of cold, calculated survival. Sources suggest that after the confrontation with Pierre, Teyana didn't leave in tears. She left with a copy of the clean break blueprint and a newfound resolve. She reportedly realized that her apple pie was a mirage and her safe space was a trap. According to insiders, Teyana has begun making calls to the few people Kanye West is actually afraid of. She is no longer playing defense. Allegedly, she has authorized her legal team to prepare a countervault release, a collection of documents and recordings from the KTSE sessions that could expose the financial and emotional malpractice within GOOD music. The narrative is shifting again. Teyana isn't just losing it, she is losing her patience. The explosive cliffhanger. The week ended with a chilling development that has the entire industry on edge. Pierre's management team reportedly issued a no-comment statement regarding his relationship status, while Teyana posted a single image of a lit match on her Instagram story before deactivating her account. But the real shockwave hit when a leaked 911 dispatch record surfaced, indicating a domestic disturbance call was made from the penthouse location during their confrontation. The record doesn't name the caller, but the description of the event is explosive. As the world waits for the other shoe to drop, a new video has allegedly surfaced. This one not from Kanye's vault, but from a security camera in the penthouse hallway. In the footage reportedly shows Pierre leaving the suite, looking visibly shaken, while a voice, unmistakably Teyana's, can be heard in the background saying, "Tell Disney I'm the one who's going to tell them the truth." The war has moved beyond the past and into the future, and for Teyana Taylor, there is nothing left to lose. The silence of the aftermath. The explosion in the penthouse wasn't just a domestic disturbance, it was the final death rattle of a carefully curated brand. In the days following the confrontation, a heavy psychological silence descended upon the industry. Teyana Taylor vanished from the public eye, leaving her Oscar campaign in a state of suspended animation. The red carpets that once beckoned were now treated like minefields. According to insiders, Teyana retreated to a fortified location in Harlem, being surrounded by a war council of legal heavyweights and childhood friends who had no ties to the Hollywood machine. The woman who had been the life of every party was now a ghost, operating in the shadows. Sources suggest that this silence was her most strategic move yet. By withdrawing, she forced the narrative away from the Shumpert sessions and onto the conspicuous absence of the man who claimed to be her safe space. The public began to notice that while Teyana was fighting for her dignity, Pierre was busy liking professional accolades on LinkedIn. The apple pie wasn't just gone, it was being dissected by a public that was beginning to see the British prince as a corporate coward. The psychological warfare of the elite. While Teyana operated in silence, the warfare behind the scenes reached a level of corporate occultism. Reports indicate that Kanye West found himself in an unexpected position of weakness. Allegedly, Teyana's counter-vault threat wasn't a bluff. Sources suggest her legal team delivered a pre-litigation package to Kanye's estate that contained evidence of massive financial discrepancies during the KTSE rollout, along with voice notes of Kanye allegedly disparaging major industry power players who are now her closest allies. The power shift was instantaneous. The Shumpert sessions links began to disappear from the dark web as quickly as they had arrived. Insiders say Kanye realized that Teyana was no longer his muse to manipulate. She was a billionaire-adjacent threat who knew exactly where the bodies were buried. Allegedly, the Kanye attempted to reach out for a truce, but Teyana's response was a chilling non-response. She was no longer looking for an apology, she was looking for an inheritance. The erasure of Pierre. The long-term impact on Pierre has been described by branding experts as a slow-motion prestige suicide. While his team successfully executed the clean break strategy, the cost to his reputation was catastrophic. Sources suggest that the prestige audience he was so desperate to impress found his abandonment of Teyana during her most vulnerable moment to be ungentlemanly and calculating. Allegedly, major directors who value authenticity began to view Aaron as a manufactured product rather than a raw talent. According to insiders, a major fashion house quietly pulled their offer for a global ambassadorship, citing the negative sentiment surrounding his role in the Teyana fallout. Aaron reportedly found himself trapped in a prison of his own making. He had his privacy, but he had lost his cool. He was no longer the man who loved the Harlem Queen. He was the man who ran when the lights got too bright. The final strategic move. As the Academy Awards approached, the industry braced for a total Teyana meltdown on the red carpet. However, the woman who appeared was a version of Teyana Taylor that no one had ever seen. Reports indicate she spent the final weeks before the Oscars undergoing a total spiritual and professional recoding. She didn't arrive with a man. She arrived with her daughters and a phalanx of black women directors and producers. Sources suggest she declined all interviews that focused on her past, instead issuing a single written statement through her publicist, "My history is a map, not a destination." The Shumpert sessions and the Kanye West drama were effectively neutralized by her refusal to acknowledge them as relevant to her craft. This was the ultimate power shift. She had moved from being a participant in the drama to being the curator of her own legacy. The Harlem energy that Aaron's team feared became her greatest asset. It was her unsinkable factor. The long-term impact on the village. The fallout also served as a purge of Teyana's inner circle. The sleepers and traitors were allegedly identified and permanently blacklisted from the industry. as sources suggest that Iman Shumpert found himself iced out of major brand deals as the narrative solidified that he had allegedly worked with Kanye to sabotage the mother of his children. The ride-or-die loyalty that Teyana once gave so freely was now a premium commodity, reserved for those who had stood by her in the penthouse trenches. The psychological impact of this betrayal has reportedly made Teyana more guarded, but also more formidable. She has transitioned from a star who seeks validation to a mogul who grants it. The industry realized that you don't break Teyana Taylor, you just give her more material for her next masterpiece. The power shift, the vigilante queen. In the final assessment, the real reason Pierre dumped Teyana was his own fear of her greatness. He couldn't handle a woman who could survive a nuclear strike and still look better in Schiaparelli than anyone else in the room. Allegedly, Teyana has already begun production on her directorial debut, a film that sources say is a thinly veiled look at the prestige industry and the vampires who inhabit it. She has successfully flipped the script, turning her lost it moment into a found it manifesto. Kanye West is reportedly disturbed by her new level of independence, and Iman Shumpert is reportedly trying to renegotiate their public image. But Teyana is no longer listening. She has moved into a frequency where their noise can no longer reach her. The iconic closing line. The story of the apple pie and the Shumpert sessions will go down in Hollywood history as the moment the muse died and the mogul was born. And Teyana Taylor didn't just survive the leak, the rage, and the betrayal. She used the fire to forge a crown that no man, mentor, husband, or lover could ever take away. As she famously told a close associate in the final days of the 2026 awards season, "They thought they were leaking my life, but they were actually just leaking their own expiration dates. The war is over, and the Queen is the only one still standing on the field." In the end, Teyana Taylor didn't just lose it. She finally realized she never needed any of them to keep it together. Was this a calculated act of revenge by a bitter mentor, or did Teyana Taylor finally get caught in the crosshairs of her own complicated history? Some fans believe Kanye West is a master manipulator who couldn't stand to see Teyana succeed without his shadow. While others argue that Pierre was a victim of circumstance who had every right to protect his career from the God music chaos. We want to hear from you. Is Teyana the ultimate survivor of industry sabotage? Or was this a ride-or-die lifestyle that finally pushed a prestige actor too far? Drop your theories in the comments. Are you Team Teyana or Team Privacy? If you want to stay ahead of the next leaked vault and every high-stakes power shift in Hollywood, hit that like button and subscribe right now. We are tracking this fallout in real time, and you won't want to miss the next update. Stay sharp, stay tuned, and remember, in Hollywood, the only thing more dangerous than a secret is the person who keeps the receipts.